If you open your phone and search for the word ick, you'll find 600 things you should never do in front of a girl.
What's your biggest ick?
When a boy gets hit by like a slow-moving car.
Yet if you have at least one more neuron than this girl, you know that most of this list is bullshit. But then, what's really an ick? The answer comes from a study made earlier this year. An ick can be described as an incongruence between the person she believed you are and the actual you. She may have believed you are very cool and charismatic, and then sees you being awkward or fumbling your words. This information alone doesn't really help, right? But trust me, it's very eye-opening once you read the rest of the study. You see, women tend to get icks more often than men do. Why? They are more sensible to disgust, more perfectionist, and more narcissistic. Beautiful, right? But in his book, The Art of Seduction, Robert Greene talks about 8 archetypes of anti-seducers. These anti-seducers perfectly match the reasons from our 2025 study. Everything is connected. So let's take them one by one. Reason number 1, disgust sensibility. The first anti-seducer archetype that leads to disgust is the vulgarian. Basically, people who would say anything, anywhere, even if that thing offends or disgusts others. So to avoid being a vulgarian, don't bring up these subjects in the first interaction. A, your mom. I know. But there's actually nuance in here. Bringing up a cute thing you did for her, good. Bringing up something like, my mom always used to say this, wrong. B, politics. In a 2023 US survey, they found out that 76% of women said that identifying as a MAGA Republican is a deal breaker for them. After the elections last year, the percentages have changed most likely. But this doesn't mean you have to change your political view just to get a girl. Simply, don't start rambling about politics. C, your ex. Bringing up your ex will signal that you're not over her, thus you're not fully ready for a new relationship. Now, if you somehow must talk about her, never talk shit about her. There's a psychological effect called the STT. When you speak badly about a close person, whoever is listening to you will associate their bad qualities with you. Now, of course, there are other subjects that you shouldn't bring up in the first interaction. A good rule of thumb to know which subjects are good and which are bad is to ask yourself this question. Would it be okay if my face would appear next to this subject on a billboard? I have to credit Vanessa Van Edwards for this genius idea. Now the next archetype that could disgust her is the brute. Men who are impatient and rush things up. Before you could say something like this to a girl, she must be comfortable with you. Studies show that women see more things as sexual harassment than men do. So comments like these must come at the perfect time. Why? Reason number 2, they're more perfectionist. So they will most likely get an ick when you make a mistake. The first archetype that matches this category is the windbag, a man who talks too much. Now this thing is pretty bad on its own, but usually the more you talk, the more you expose yourself to making other mistakes.
You shouldn't keep spitting on me!
Getting a voice crack or getting a high-pitched tone are both considered icky for women. So how can you solve this? Try to be more curious about her life rather than excited to present yours. But don't overthink it too much. Otherwise, you could end up like the bumbler. This one is too self-conscious. And according to Robert Greene himself, being overly self-conscious makes the other person overly conscious as well. Well, why is that bad? There are studies who go as far as saying that women who feel overly conscious can't experience lust nor orgasm. Truth is, I was a bumbler myself. I always used to overthink, especially when I made a mistake, but then I learned something called the pratfall effect. A mistake can make you more likable if you keep your cool and play it well. For example, if you spill your coffee during a date while gesticulating, just smile and say, "Sorry, I got really excited about this topic you brought up. Did you catch that?" The smile activates reciprocity, so she will smile back. And this right here is a compliment which will make her feel good and see you as more charismatic. You turned an ick into a beautiful and funny moment, and you demonstrate demonstrate high social skills, which you will desperately need because of reason number 3. They're more narcissistic. Here's something you probably never thought about. Men tend to score higher on grandiose narcissism, aka ego and dominance, while women score higher on vulnerable narcissism or sensitivity to rejection and self-image concerns. Well, what does this have to do with icks? Well, women's self-image concerns will make them get icky for men who show low social value. Why? Because being with them will hurt their own social value. The archetypes versus the tightwad, a person that's overly cheap. In case you didn't know, women are like 1,000 times more sensitive to their future partner's salary than men. Second, the suffocator, or aka the needy one. If you have that much time to be needy, that means you don't have anything better to do. Not sexy, huh? Third, the moralizer. If you criticize her, you'll probably hurt her self-image, so she will subconsciously get the ick and try to get away from you. And fourth, the reactor. Basically, someone who overreacts. Besides the obvious problem of appearing childish, you also tap into feminine energy. And about 40 women out of 100 are turned off when a man does something that violates gender expectations. Why? It lowers the perceived social status. On the flip side, to turn her on, you should have a high perceived social status. Pretty hard to do without looks and money, right? Well, there's a loophole. It's the mid-1480s. Christopher Columbus tries to get funding for his mission of finding a new route to Asia. A great cause, for a man of his rank at least. Columbus isn't rich, and he definitely isn't famous. Just another sailor with a dream. Yet, every time he comes in front of a higher ranking person, he never looks down, never dials his voice, and never takes his hat off. Back then, taking your hat off was a sign of respect and submission. A lot of people believed his attitude to be childish arrogance. But when he finally came in front of Queen Isabella, she gave him 3 ships and named him the Admiral of the Ocean Sea, later known as the man who discovered the Americas. What Columbus used is called status consistency theory. If a person has low social status but acts as if they have high social status, our brain will get confused. This little guy hates to be confused, so he will trick himself into thinking that the person in front of us has indeed high status. Useful. But to get this effect, Columbus didn't just act confident. He always stuck to his principles. He was polarizing. How can you become as polarizing as him? I know this video is just for you.